18 years old when my mother abandoned me for the last time. It was senior week, that magical week every American teenager looks forward to, when you go to the beach with your friends to celebrate graduation. I was in Ocean City, Maryland, with my group of friends, enjoying the last days before we all went our separate ways. My mother, Diane, had promised to pick me up on Sunday at 3 in the afternoon. "I'll be there, baby," she said. "On time. I promise." I should have known better. My mother never kept promises. But I was young and stupid and still wanted to believe that this time would be different. 3 o'clock came. I was waiting in front of the house we'd rented, my suitcase beside me, sweating under the June sun. 3:15. 3:30. 4 o'clock. I called her. Straight to voicemail. I texted. No response. By 5 o'clock, my friends were leaving with their families. "Are you sure you're okay?" my friend Becca asked. "My mom can give you a ride." "No, it's fine," I lied. "My mom's on her way. Traffic, you know." But it wasn't traffic. At 6 o'clock, I was alone in front of the house, the sun starting to set, without enough money for an Uber home, and my phone at 15% battery. That's when I saw it. A post on Instagram. My mother. At a bar. With her new boyfriend, Derek. Completely drunk. Laughing. Having fun. The caption said, "Best Sunday ever. Found the love of my life. #live well, #no worries, #blessed." She had forgotten me. Completely forgotten she was supposed to pick me up. I stared at that photo, feeling something inside me break. It wasn't the first time my mother had disappointed me, but it would be the last. I grabbed my suitcase and started walking. 2 miles to our house. In the heat. Alone. When I finally got home, exhausted, dehydrated, with blisters on my feet, I found the house empty and a text message from my mother. "Sorry baby, had too much fun with Derek. Coming back tomorrow. There's frozen pizza in the freezer." In that moment, I swore. Never again. Never again would I depend on her. Never again would I wait for her to show up. Never again would I be the forgotten daughter. 11 years passed. I moved out. I cut contact. I built a brilliant career as a corporate lawyer in New York. I created a life where I was the priority. And then, on an ordinary Tuesday, my secretary told me there was a woman in reception asking to see me. "She says she's your mother," my secretary said. "And that it's urgent." I hadn't spoken to my mother in 11 years. And now she was here. In my office. Asking for help. Part of me wanted to send her away. Leave her waiting like she'd left me waiting so many times. But another part of me, the part that was still that 18-year-old girl waiting under the sun, needed to know. What did she want? And this time, I would have the power to choose whether to show up or not. My name is Avery Collins, and this is my story. I always knew I wasn't my mother's priority. Diane Collins was a 42-year-old woman obsessed with looking young, with having fun, with living like she was still 20. She'd had me at 24, the result of a relationship that ended when I was 2. Since then, Diane had gone through an endless series of boyfriends, jobs, and phases of self-discovery. I grew up being the adult in the relationship. I made my own meals from age 8. I put myself to bed. I woke myself up for school. I took care of myself because my mother was always too busy with work, with boyfriends, with parties, with anything that wasn't being a mother. "You're so independent, Avery," Diane would say proudly, as if it were a compliment. "You don't need me for anything." But I did need her. I needed a mother who showed up at school presentations. Who remembered my birthday. Who was there when I needed her. But Diane never was. When I was 18 and graduating high school, I was excited for senior week, that American tradition where graduates go to the beach for a week to celebrate before heading to college. My friends and I rented a house in Ocean City, Maryland. It would be a week of freedom, fun, and memories before we all went our separate ways. "You're going to pick me up on Sunday, right?" I asked my mother before leaving. Of course, baby, Diane said, barely looking up from her phone. 3 o'clock. I'll be there. Promise. I insisted. Because I don't have money for an Uber back, and, I promise, Diane interrupted. Relax. Avery. I'll be there. I wanted to believe her. I really did. Senior week was amazing. My friends and I spent days at the beach, nights at bonfires, laughing, making plans for the future, enjoying the last moments together before real life began. On Sunday morning, I packed my things. My friends were doing the same, everyone preparing for their families to pick them up. Is your mom picking you up? My friend Becca asked. Yeah, I said. At 3. Cool, Becca said. My mom gets here at noon. I'm going to miss you, AV. I'll miss you too, I said, hugging my friend. At noon, Becca's parents arrived. Then Tyler's parents. Then Madison's. One by one, my friends left, their families arriving on time, loading suitcases, hugging their children. At 3 o'clock, I was sitting in front of the house, my suitcase beside me, waiting. 3:15. 3:30. 3:45. I called my mother. Straight to voicemail. I sent a text. Mom, where are you? I'm waiting. No response. 4 o'clock. 4:15. 4:30. The sun was scorching. I was sweating, feeling dizzy. I hadn't eaten much at breakfast, and now I was starting to feel nauseous. At 5 o'clock, my last friends were leaving. AV, are you sure you're okay? Becca asked, worried. My mom can give you a ride. It's no problem. No, it's fine, I said, forcing a smile. My mom's on her way. Probably traffic. Are you sure? Becca insisted. I am, I lied. Go. Don't worry about me. Becca hesitated but finally got in the car with her family and left. I was alone. 5:30. 6 o'clock. I called my mother again. Voicemail. I sent more texts. Mom, where are you? Mom, please answer. Mom, I need you. Nothing. The sun was starting to set. I was thirsty, hungry, exhausted. My phone was at 15% battery. I opened Instagram, thinking about sending my mother a direct message. And that's when I saw it. A post. Published 30 minutes ago. My mother. At a bar. With a man I didn't recognize, probably the new boyfriend, Derek, whom Diane had mentioned briefly. Diane was laughing, holding a colorful drink, clearly drunk. The caption said, "Best Sunday ever. Found the love of my life. Hashtag live well, hashtag no worries, hashtag blessed." I stared at the photo, feeling like I'd been punched in the stomach. My mother wasn't stuck in traffic. She wasn't on her way. She was at a bar. Drunk. With her boyfriend. Having completely forgotten about her daughter. Tears filled my eyes. But I wiped them away quickly. I wasn't going to cry. Not over this. Not over her. I looked around. The street was empty. Everyone had left. I was alone. I checked my phone. 14% battery. I opened the Uber app. The ride to my house would cost $45. I had $23 in my account. I didn't have enough money. I looked at the road. 2 miles to my house. I could walk. So that's what I did. I grabbed my suitcase, a large heavy suitcase full of clothes, towels, and memories from the week, and started walking. The sun was still strong, even at 6 in the evening. The asphalt radiated heat. I was wearing shorts and a t-shirt, but I was still sweating profusely. My suitcase had wheels, but one was broken, so I had to drag it sideways, which made everything harder. After 15 minutes, my arms were aching. After 30 minutes, I was desperately thirsty. After 45 minutes, I had blisters on my feet. Cars passed me. Some people honked. No one stopped to offer help. I kept walking. I thought about all the times my mother had disappointed me. All the broken promises. All the moments when Diane had chosen anything else, a boyfriend, a party, an opportunity, instead of her daughter. My 10th birthday, when Diane completely forgot and spent the day with her boyfriend at the time. My dance recital at 12, when Diane promised to be there but didn't show up because she was busy. My middle school graduation, when Diane arrived an hour late, drunk, and caused a scene. And now this. Senior week. The moment that was supposed to be special. And my mother had forgotten me. Again. I felt anger growing inside me. Not sadness. Not disappointment. Pure rage. I was tired. Tired of being forgotten. Tired of not being a priority. Tired of having a mother who acted like an irresponsible teenager. After an hour and 15 minutes, I finally got home. I was exhausted. Dehydrated. My feet were bleeding from blisters. My face was red from the sun. I opened the front door. The house was empty. Silent. I dropped my suitcase on the floor and went straight to the kitchen. I drank 3 glasses of water, one after another. Then I checked my phone. 5% battery. There was a message from my mother, sent 10 minutes ago. Sorry, baby. Had too much fun with Derek and lost track of time. Coming back tomorrow morning. There's frozen pizza in the freezer if you're hungry. Love you. I stared at the message. Sorry, baby. As if that was it. As if a casual apology fixed everything. I threw my phone on the couch and went to the bathroom. I took off my shoes and saw my feet were covered in blisters, some burst and bleeding. I took a long hot shower, letting the water wash away the sweat, the dirt, and the tears that finally started to fall. When I got out of the shower, I sat on my bed and made a decision. Never again. Never again would I depend on my mother. Never again would I wait for Diane to show up. Never again would I be the forgotten daughter. I had been accepted to New York University with a partial scholarship. I had planned to live at home and commute daily to save money. But not anymore. I would find a way to pay for campus housing. I would work. I would take out student loans if necessary. But I wouldn't stay in this house. Not with this woman who called herself a mother but never acted like one. That night, I started making plans. I researched on-campus jobs. I researched housing options. I researched student loans. At 2 in the morning, I had a complete plan. I would move to New York in August. I would work part-time. I would take out loans to cover what the scholarship didn't. And I would cut contact with my mother. Not completely, not yet. But I would distance myself. Stop waiting. Stop disappointing myself. The next morning, Diane came home around 10 o'clock. She was wearing the same outfit from the Instagram photo, her makeup smeared, clearly hungover. Hi, baby, she said cheerfully, as if nothing had happened. Sorry about yesterday. Derek and I just got lost in the moment. You know how it is. Did you get home okay? I looked at my mother. At this woman who had given me life but never really been a mother. I walked, I said coldly. Walked. Diane repeated, confused. From Ocean City? 2 miles, I said, carrying my suitcase. In the sun. Because you forgot me. Diane's expression changed. Avery, I didn't forget you. You posted on Instagram, I interrupted. You were at a bar. Drunk. With Derek. While I was waiting for you for hours. I lost track of time, Diane said defensively. It happens, Avery. You don't need to be so dramatic. Dramatic. I repeated, my voice rising. You left me alone. Without money. Without a ride. And I had to walk 2 miles home. And you think I'm being dramatic? You're fine, aren't you? Diane said. You got home. Everything's fine. Everything's not fine. I shouted. Nothing is fine. You're never there when I need you. You never show up. You never keep your promises. Avery, you're overreacting, Diane said, rolling her eyes. It was a mistake. I said I'm sorry. You're always sorry, I said, my voice breaking. But you never change. You never really care. I care about you, Diane said. You're my daughter. Then act like I am, I said. Act like I matter. Diane sighed. Avery, I don't know what you want from me. I want a mother, I said. But clearly that's too much to ask. I walked past Diane and went to my room, slamming the door. That was the beginning of the end of our relationship. In August, I moved to New York. I got a tiny dorm room at NYU. I worked 20 hours a week at a campus bookstore. I took out student loans to cover what my scholarship and job didn't. And I stopped answering my mother's calls. At first, Diane called frequently. Avery, why aren't you answering? Avery, are you mad at me? Avery, this is ridiculous. Call me back. But I didn't. I was done. Done waiting. Done hoping. Done being disappointed. Eventually, Diane stopped calling. She moved on with her life, just like she always did. And I moved on with mine. I threw myself into my studies. I majored in political science with a pre-law track. I wanted to be a lawyer. I wanted to be someone who fought for people, who showed up when it mattered, who kept promises. I graduated from NYU summa cum laude. I got accepted to Columbia Law School. I specialized in corporate law, the most demanding and lucrative specialty. I wanted financial security. I wanted to never depend on anyone again. Law school was brutal. 100-hour weeks. Constant pressure. Cutthroat competition. But I thrived. I was good at it. Really good. My professors noticed. You have a gift, Avery, Professor Martinez told me. You're one of the sharpest legal minds I've taught. You're going to be an exceptional attorney. After law school, I got hired at Morrison & Klein, one of the top corporate law firms in New York. I started as an associate, working insane hours, taking on impossible cases, proving myself. I was promoted to senior associate within 3 years. Junior partner at 27. Full partner at 29. I bought a beautiful apartment in Manhattan. I had a career I loved. A life I'd built from nothing. I had colleagues who became friends. I dated occasionally, though I struggled with trust and commitment. I went to therapy to work through my abandonment issues. I was healing, growing, becoming the person I wanted to be. And through it all, I never heard from my mother. Not once. No phone call. No letter. No apology. She had moved on with her life, and I had moved on with mine. I thought I was over it. I thought I'd healed. But then, on an ordinary Tuesday in October, my secretary buzzed my office. Ms. Collins, there's a woman in reception asking to see you. She doesn't have an appointment. Tell her to schedule one, I said, not looking up from the contract I was reviewing. She says it's urgent, my secretary said. She says she's your mother. My pen stopped moving. My heart started racing. What? She says her name is Diane Collins and she's your mother and she needs to speak with you urgently. I sat frozen for a long moment. Then I said, send her in. I don't know why I said it. I should have told my secretary to send her away. But some part of me, the part that was still that 18-year-old girl waiting under the sun, needed to see her. Needed to know what she wanted. A minute later, my office door opened. And there she was. My mother. I almost didn't recognize her. She looked so different. Older. Much older. Her hair, which she'd always dyed blonde, was now grey with dark roots. Her face was lined and tired. She'd gained weight. She was wearing cheap clothes, a stained jacket and worn jeans. She looked desperate. Avery, she said, her voice shaking. Thank you for seeing me. I leaned back in my chair, keeping my expression neutral. What do you want, Diane? She flinched at my use of her first name. I need your help. With what? I'm being sued, Diane said. By my landlord. He's trying to evict me. And there's other stuff too. Legal stuff. I don't understand it all. But I could lose everything. I need a lawyer. And you're a lawyer. So I thought, you thought you'd come here after 11 years of silence and ask me for help. I said coldly. Diane's face crumpled. I know I have no right to ask. But Avery, I'm desperate. I have nowhere else to turn. You're my daughter. Please. I'm your daughter? I repeated. I'm your daughter? Where was that sentiment 11 years ago when you forgot to pick me up from senior week? When you left me waiting for hours while you got drunk with your boyfriend? I made a mistake, Diane said. A terrible mistake. I've made a lot of mistakes. But I'm asking you to help me anyway. Please. I studied her. This woman who had given birth to me but never really been a mother. This woman who had disappointed me, abandoned me, forgotten me over and over again. And now she was here, asking for help. Why should I? I asked. Why should I help you after everything you did to me? Because you're a good person, Diane said. Better than me. You always have been. And because I'm your mother, and I need you. You were never a mother to me, I said. Not really. Mothers show up. Mothers keep promises. Mothers choose their children. You never did any of that. I know, Diane whispered. I know I failed you. But I'm begging you. Please. I have no money. I can't afford a lawyer. If I lose this case, I'll be homeless. Part of me felt satisfaction at her desperation. Part of me wanted to tell her to leave, to feel what it was like to be abandoned. But another part of me, the part that had worked so hard to be better than my pain, couldn't do it. Tell me about the case, I said. Diane's face flooded with relief. Thank you. Thank you so much. I haven't agreed to help you, I said. I'm just listening. Tell me what's going on. Diane sat down in the chair across from my desk. I've been living in this apartment in Queens for 3 years. The landlord, Mr. Petrov, he's trying to evict me. He says I haven't paid rent in 4 months. But I have paid. I have receipts. Well, some receipts. I lost a few. But I paid, Avery. I swear I did. Do you have proof? I asked. Some, Diane said. I have bank statements showing withdrawals. And I have a few receipts he gave me. But not all of them. Why are you paying in cash? I asked. Why not pay by check or online transfer so you have a clear record? Diane looked uncomfortable. Mr. Petrov prefers cash. He gives me a discount if I pay cash. That's a red flag, I said. He's probably not reporting the income. And now he's claiming you didn't pay so he can evict you and rent to someone else for more money. So what do I do? Diane asked desperately. Can you help me? I was quiet for a long moment. This woman had never been there for me. Never showed up when I needed her. Never kept a single promise. And now she was asking me to show up for her. I'll look at your case, I said finally. I'll review the documents you have. But I'm not promising anything. If you don't have sufficient proof of payment, there's not much I can do. Thank you, Diane said, tears streaming down her face. Thank you so much, Avery. I knew you'd help me. I knew you were a good person. Don't thank me yet, I said coldly. And don't mistake this for forgiveness. I'm doing this because I'm a lawyer and you need legal help. Not because you're my mother. Diane flinched but nodded. I understand. Bring me all the documents you have, I said. Receipts, bank statements, the eviction notice, your lease agreement, everything. I'll review it and let you know if you have a case. When should I bring them? Diane asked. Tomorrow, I said. My secretary will schedule an appointment. Now if you'll excuse me, I have work to do. Diane stood up slowly. Avery, I really am sorry. For everything. For senior week. For all the times I let you down. For not being the mother you deserved. Save it, I said. I don't want your apologies. I want you to leave so I can get back to work. Diane nodded and walked to the door. She paused with her hand on the handle. You've done so well for yourself, she said quietly. This office. This career. You're everything I knew you could be. No thanks to you, I said. Diane left. I sat at my desk, my hands shaking, my heart racing. After 11 years, my mother had walked back into my life. And despite everything, despite all the pain and anger, I was going to help her. Not because she deserved it, but because I needed to prove to myself that I was better than her. That I was the kind of person who showed up, even when it was hard. The next day, Diane came back with a manila folder full of documents. I reviewed everything carefully. The situation was worse than I thought. Diane had receipts for only 2 of the 4 months in question. Her bank statements showed cash withdrawals, but there was no way to prove the cash went to rent. The landlord had a strong case. This isn't good, I told Diane. You don't have sufficient documentation. In a he said she said situation, the burden of proof is on you, and you can't prove you paid. So I'm going to lose? Diane asked, her voice breaking. Not necessarily, I said. I can argue that the landlord's preference for cash payments and lack of proper receipts constitutes a pattern of improper record-keeping. I can subpoena his financial records and show he's been taking cash payments from multiple tenants and not reporting them. That might pressure him to settle. Will that work? Diane asked hopefully. Maybe, I said. But it's going to take time and effort. And I'm going to be honest with you, Diane. I'm doing this as a favor. I'm not charging you. But you need to understand that this doesn't change anything between us. I'm your lawyer, not your daughter. Diane's eyes filled with tears. I understand. Over the next few weeks, I worked on Diane's case. I filed motions. I subpoenaed records. I built an argument. It was tedious work, the kind of case I normally wouldn't take. But I did it anyway. Because despite everything, I couldn't let her become homeless. The landlord's lawyer contacted me. Ms. Collins, my client is willing to settle. He'll drop the eviction if your client pays the disputed rent and moves out within 60 days. That's not a settlement, I said. That's exactly what he wanted in the first place. It's better than eviction on her record, the lawyer said. She won't be able to rent anywhere with an eviction. He was right. I called Diane. The landlord is offering a settlement. You pay the disputed rent and move out in 60 days. No eviction on your record. How much is the disputed rent? Diane asked. $4,000. I don't have $4,000, Diane said. I barely have $400. I closed my eyes. I'll pay it. What? I'll pay the $4,000, I said. You move out, find a new place, and we're done. You don't contact me again. Understood. Avery, I can't let you do that, Diane said. You're not letting me do anything, I said. I'm choosing to do it. Because I don't want you to be homeless. But this is it, Diane. This is the last time. After this, we're done. Okay, Diane whispered. Okay. I paid the $4,000. Diane moved out of her apartment. She found a cheaper place in the Bronx. And true to my word, I cut contact. I changed my phone number. I told my secretary not to accept any calls or visits from Diane Collins. I was done. But cutting her out didn't heal the wound. I found myself thinking about her constantly. About senior week. About all the times she'd let me down. About the fact that even now, even after helping her, I still felt angry. I increased my therapy sessions. Why do you think you helped her? My therapist asked. Because I'm not her, I said. Because I show up. Because I keep my word. But you're angry that you helped her, my therapist observed. Yes, I admitted. I'm angry that she put me in that position. I'm angry that after everything she did, I still couldn't turn her away. I'm angry that I care. Caring doesn't make you weak, my therapist said. It makes you human. It makes me vulnerable, I said. And I hate being vulnerable. 6 months passed. I threw myself into work. I took on bigger cases, longer hours, more responsibility. I was being considered for senior partner. My career was thriving. But I was lonely. I realized that in my effort to never depend on anyone, I'd built walls so high that no one could get in. I started dating someone seriously for the first time. His name was Marcus, a fellow attorney at a different firm. He was kind, patient, and understanding. You don't talk about your family much, Marcus said one evening over dinner. There's not much to talk about, I said. It's just me. No parents. Siblings. My father left before I was born, I said. And my mother and I don't have a relationship. I'm sorry, Marcus said. That must be hard. It is what it is, I said, trying to sound casual. But Marcus saw through me. It's okay to be hurt by it, you know. It's okay to admit that it affects you. I felt tears prick my eyes. I don't want it to affect me. I don't want to give her that power. She already has it, Marcus said gently. Whether you acknowledge it or not. The question is, what are you going to do about it? I didn't have an answer. A few weeks later, I got a call from a hospital in the Bronx. Is this Avery Collins? Yes. We have a patient here, Diane Collins. She listed you as her emergency contact. She's been in an accident. My heart stopped. What kind of accident? Car accident. She's stable, but she's asking for you. Can you come? I should have said no. Should have told them to find someone else. But I didn't. I'll be there in 30 minutes. I drove to the hospital, my mind racing. Why had she listed me as her emergency contact? We hadn't spoken in 6 months. When I got to the hospital, a nurse directed me to Diane's room. She was lying in bed, her leg in a cast, bruises covering her face. Avery, she said when she saw me. You came. The hospital called, I said. They said you were in an accident. I was crossing the street, Diane said. A car ran a red light. Hit me. Broke my leg in 3 places. The doctors say I'll need surgery. Do you have insurance? I asked. No, Diane admitted. I lost my job 2 months ago. I've been doing gig work, but it doesn't come with benefits. Of course she didn't have insurance. What do you need from me? I asked. I don't know, Diane said. I just didn't know who else to call. I don't have anyone, Avery. No friends. No family. Just you. You can't keep doing this, I said. You can't keep showing up in my life only when you need something. I know, Diane said. I know I have no right to ask anything of you. But I'm scared, Avery. I'm alone and I'm scared and I don't know what to do. I looked at this woman, this stranger who happened to be my mother, and I felt a complicated mix of emotions. Anger, pity, frustration, and underneath it all, a deep, aching sadness. I'll talk to the doctors, I said. I'll make sure you get the surgery you need. But after that, Diane, you need to figure out your life. I can't keep saving you. I know, Diane whispered. Thank you. I spoke with the doctors. I arranged for Diane's surgery. I paid the hospital bills. Again. After the surgery, Diane needed somewhere to recover. She couldn't go back to her apartment, a 4th-floor walk-up with no elevator. You can stay with me, I said, the words coming out before I could stop them. Just until you can walk again. Then you find your own place. Are you sure? Diane asked. No, I said honestly. But I'm offering anyway. So Diane moved into my guest room. It was supposed to be temporary. 6 weeks, the doctors said, until she could put weight on her leg. Those 6 weeks were some of the hardest of my life. Having Diane in my space, in my home, brought up all the old wounds. But it also forced us to talk. Really talk. One evening, about 2 weeks into her stay, we were sitting in my living room. Diane was on the couch, her leg propped up, and I was in the armchair across from her. "Can I ask you something?" Diane said. "What?" "Why did you help me? After everything I did, why did you help me?" I was quiet for a long moment. "Because I needed to prove to myself that I'm not you. That I'm the kind of person who shows up, even when it's hard." Diane flinched. "I deserved that." "Yes, you did," I said. "Do you want to know what the worst part was?" I asked. "About senior week." "Tell me," Diane said quietly. "The worst part wasn't that you forgot me," I said. "The worst part was that you didn't care. When you finally came home the next day, you acted like it was no big deal. Like I was overreacting. You never once acknowledged how much you hurt me." "I was ashamed," Diane said. "I knew what I'd done was terrible. So I pretended it wasn't a big deal because I couldn't face how badly I'd failed you." "That's not an excuse," I said. "No, it's not," Diane agreed. "It's an explanation. Not an excuse. I failed you, Avery. Over and over again. I was a terrible mother. I was selfish and irresponsible, and I put my own wants above your needs every single time." "Why?" I asked, the question I'd been holding for years finally spilling out. "Why wasn't I enough? Why couldn't you just love me?" Diane started crying. "You were always enough, Avery. You were always more than enough. The problem was never you. It was me. I was broken. I was so desperate to be loved, to be wanted, that I chased after men who didn't care about me. And in the process, I neglected the one person who did care about me. You. I don't care about you anymore," I said. "I stopped caring a long time ago." "I know," Diane said. "And I don't blame you. I destroyed our relationship. I destroyed any chance of having a real mother-daughter bond. And I have to live with that." We sat in silence for a while. Then Diane spoke again. "For what it's worth, I'm proud of you. Of everything you've accomplished. You became an incredible person despite having me as a mother. That takes strength." "It does," I agreed. "More strength than I should have needed." Over the next few weeks, Diane and I continued to talk. Really talk, for the first time in my life. She told me about her childhood, about her own absent parents, about the trauma she'd never dealt with. "I'm not making excuses," Diane said. "But I want you to understand. I never learned how to be a mother because I never had a mother. I was repeating the only pattern I knew." "That's sad," I said. "But it doesn't change what you did to me." "No, it doesn't," Diane agreed. "Nothing changes what I did. But maybe it helps you understand that it was never about you. You were always worthy of love. I was just too damaged to give it to you." Those conversations didn't heal everything. But they helped. They helped me understand that my mother's failures weren't my fault. That I had always been enough. 6 weeks turned into 8. Diane's leg healed slowly. But she was making progress. One evening she said, "I think I'm ready to go back to my apartment. I can manage the stairs now with crutches." "Are you sure?" I asked. "Yes," Diane said. "You've done more than enough for me, Avery. More than I deserved. It's time for me to stand on my own 2 feet. Literally." I helped Diane pack her things. I drove her back to her apartment in the Bronx. I helped her up the stairs. At her door, she turned to me. "Thank you," she said. "For everything. For helping with the eviction. For paying my hospital bills. For letting me stay with you. For giving me a chance to explain. You didn't owe me any of that." No, I didn't, I agreed. But I did it anyway. Because that's who I am. You're a better person than I ever was, Diane said. I know, I said. Diane smiled sadly. Can I ask you one more thing? What? Can we stay in touch? Not like before. I'm not asking to be your mother. That ship has sailed. But maybe we could be two people who know each other. Who check in occasionally. Who have coffee once in a while. I thought about it. About what I wanted. About what I could handle. Maybe, I said. Let's start slow. You can text me once a week. Let me know how you're doing. And we'll see where it goes from there. I can do that, Diane said. Thank you, Avery. For giving me a chance. Don't make me regret it, I said. I won't, Diane promised. That was a year ago. Diane kept her promise. She texted me once a week. Short messages. Hope you're having a good week. Thinking of you. Proud of you. I didn't always respond. But I read them. And slowly, very slowly, I started responding. Short messages back. Thanks. You too. How's your leg? We met for coffee a few times. Awkward, stilted conversations at first. But gradually they got easier. We weren't mother and daughter. We probably never would be. But we were two people trying to build something new from the ruins of what had been. I continued therapy. I continued working on my trust issues, my abandonment issues, my fear of vulnerability. And I continued building my life. Marcus and I got serious. He proposed. I said yes. We're getting married next spring. I didn't invite Diane to the engagement party. But I'm considering inviting her to the wedding. Maybe. We'll see. My therapist says I've made incredible progress. You've learned to set boundaries, she said. You've learned that helping someone doesn't mean letting them hurt you. You've learned that you can be compassionate without being a doormat. I'm still angry sometimes, I admitted. That's okay, my therapist said. Anger is part of healing. The question is, what do you do with that anger? I use it, I said. I use it to fuel my determination to be better, to show up, to keep my promises, to be the person my mother never was. That's healthy, my therapist said. As long as you're not defining yourself solely in opposition to her. You're not your mother. You're Avery. You're your own person with your own values and your own life. She was right. I am my own person. I'm not defined by what was done to me. I'm defined by what I choose to do. And I choose to be better. I choose to show up. I choose to keep my promises. I choose to love, even when it's scary. I choose to be vulnerable, even when it's hard. That's my revenge. Not cruelty. Not abandonment. But becoming so much better than the person who hurt me that there's no comparison. My mother left me waiting under the sun for hours. She forgot me, disappointed me, failed me over and over again. But I didn't let that break me. I let it make me stronger. Today, I'm 30 years old. I'm a partner at one of the top law firms in New York. I'm engaged to a wonderful man. I have friends who are like family. I have a therapist who helps me work through my issues. I have a life I'm proud of. And I have a complicated, imperfect relationship with my mother. We're not close. We probably never will be. But we're trying. And that's something. Last week, Diane texted me. I know I've said this before, but I need to say it again. I'm sorry. For senior week. For all the times I let you down. For not being the mother you deserved. You didn't deserve any of that. You deserved better. You deserved a mother who showed up, who kept promises, who chose you. I'm sorry I wasn't that mother. But I'm grateful that despite everything, you became an incredible person. I'm grateful that you're giving me a chance to be in your life. Even in this small way. I don't deserve it. But I'm grateful for it. Thank you, Avery. For being better than me. for showing me what real strength looks like. I read the message 3 times. Then I responded, I'm not doing this for you. I'm doing it for me. Because I need to prove to myself that I can forgive without forgetting. That I can move forward without pretending the past didn't happen. That I can be compassionate without being weak. You hurt me. Deeply. And that's something I'll carry with me forever. But I'm choosing not to let that hurt define me. I'm choosing to be better. Not because you deserve it. But because I do. Diane responded, I understand. And I'm grateful anyway. That's where we are now. It's not perfect. It's not a fairy tale reconciliation. But it's real. And it's honest. And it's enough. People ask me sometimes if I regret helping my mother. If I wish I'd slammed the door in her face like she deserved. I don't regret it. Because helping her wasn't about her. It was about me. It was about proving to myself that I'm not defined by what was done to me. That I'm defined by what I choose to do. And I choose to be better. I choose to show up. I choose to help, even when it's hard. My mother abandoned me at 18 during senior week. She left me waiting under the sun while she got drunk with her boyfriend. I walked 2 miles home, exhausted and humiliated, and swore I'd never come back. And I didn't. Not really. I built a new life. A better life. A life where I was the priority. But when she showed up 11 years later, desperate and broken, I made a different choice. I chose to help. Not because she deserved it. But because I deserved to be the kind of person who helps. That's the best revenge of all. Not cruelty. Not abandonment. But becoming so much better than the person who hurt you that there's no comparison. My mother left me waiting. And I turned that abandonment into strength, success, and the ability to show up for others in a way she never could. That's my story. That's my victory. And that's enough.